Welcome to the first show of Found Purpose, everyone. I'm your host, Portland Fields. I am with my amazing children, Curtis and Amaya. I thought it would be a great idea to start the first show off with my children to let everyone know that how I found purpose, and there's no better way that anybody can, well, they are, but if you're going to get the real, true, authentic me, my kids are always the ones that could make me tell the truth, because I always promised them that I would never, ever, ever lie to them. So let's just see how this is going to go. I do not know what questions they're going to ask me, which is kind of, I'm very nervous right now, because if anybody know my kids, and especially if you know me, anything comes out my mouth. So they have that whole thing going for them, like anything come out their mouth. And so sometimes I just gag, because they be asking me questions, and next thing you know, I be driving and almost crash. So we're going to see what's going to happen. But again, thank you for joining us at Found Purpose. This is our very first show. The name of the show is A Father's Confession. So today I will reveal something personal to my children that they want to ask me, and I have no choice but to tell them the truth. So I'm going to let them control the interview now and give them the floor. May God be with me. Welcome, my cadets.
Cadets.
Yeah, cadets is like, because people keep asking me, do I have children? And sometimes I say no, because I forget. Not that I forget about you all, I just forget that y'all not kids, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, kids, like, no, I got cadets, because the kids is adults. So they cadets or chadels.
I guess so.
So if you can, just make sure you speak closely into your mic, so this way everyone can hear you. All right, who's starting it off?
Amaya.
I knew you was gonna say me. Okay. Well, I feel like to give a little context to this podcast, I would say, well, we already know why we're here, So I would like to just give a little insight into your childhood, like how it was for you to grow up a little bit, so we can get into the big questions.
Well, it was hell. Just answer the question.
Basically, like I already know the answer, but for the people that don't know and how you got here today,
I would like to
just give us a little. You said what?
What's the question? I don't know
info, like how it was for you growing up, like, when it was you having me and then having Curtis, and the different shifts in your life. Like, how was that?
Yeah, like, how was it to have kids at a young age and
you being young and still learning yourself?
Wow.
Yeah, okay. I don't want to say back then as in like back then was so long ago, because it really wasn't. But
okay, so
like in your generation.
All right, so this is a really good question. So I'm gonna be completely honest with you both. Okay, as you know, I did have children when I was very young. However, I would say this, if I'm gonna be completely honest, I wish I would have waited to have children. Not saying that I wish you was not here. I just wish that you would have came at a later time when I was more financially stable. When people tell you to wrap it up, you really don't listen, and that could go into a whole another topic, a conversation, but it was very difficult having children at a young age, because what y'all didn't know is that we struggle financially. And although I tried to, me and your moms did not try to show it, it kind of like hurt us in the relationship. you both know that I was married to both of your mothers, because I came from that generation. My mom and my dad was married for 54 years. So all I knew was like a long-term relationship, and no matter what, you stick it out. But for some reason, me and both of your mothers, that we could not do that. So that was difficult, which that played a very difficult part of my life because I didn't have my kids with me every day. So when I was used to waking up and seeing your faces every day, it came to a point where I didn't see your face every day. And that was hard to deal with. So that was like more added depression. Growing up in Brooklyn, New York, and Brownsville, one of the worst neighborhoods during that time, it is really hard because a lot of times that was like when a lot of crack was coming into play. And what both your generations has now, what we didn't have is video recorders. So all the police brutality, all the racist things that's going on, we couldn't record, but all the stuff that y'all seeing now, that been going on. That been going on for years. So to shed light on that is a good thing. But sometimes I think as people, we shed too much light on what's going on, where we condemn ourselves. So it was really a difficult time. I sold drugs. I went to jail. And it was really hard, especially living in a 1-bedroom apartment. Do y'all remember the 1-bedroom apartment?
No, I only remember the place in Brownsville. Well, yeah, if that was the 1-bedroom, yeah, that was the place. Yeah, I remember.
I don't think you can remember a 1-bedroom apartment.
I just know you told me. So that's yeah.
To think back that far and remember like what everything looked like and what it was as a kid is like, oh wow, it's so big. But now as you grow up, it's just like, wow, that's so little.
Do y'all remember,
especially now?
Do y'all remember having like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for dinner?
No. Well, all I remember was food is food. And if it was food, I ate it. I was a fat kid, so whatever you gave me, I was eating. So I didn't care what it was.
Yeah, so the cool thing about it was that, especially with both of you, it was amazing. Like, you guys really did change my life. Like, nothing for that. I would not change anything about that now.
And that's my question. I got another question before we jump into something.
Here we go.
So now I know you say you don't regret nothing because you've learned from your past and your mistakes and everything like that. But during that time, at such a young age, like in the beginning, was there regret? Was there like, not saying that?
Okay, you only get one question.
It's all tying in.
So I need to.
It's all tying in.
We are limited time here. Your brother got to go to work, so we got to tie this up. So what is your question?
Did you regret it in the beginning? Not saying now, but like as me and Curtis was growing up and when you had us, was there regret in your life?
Yes. I would have to say yes. Is there a follow-up?
Well, Mike, do you have a follow-up to your question before I say what I have to say?
Like, so you say yes. Was it was there ever a thought of, man, I wish I never had kids?
Wow, this is going into a whole. Okay, so to be honest, it was a thought. It was a thought, and it wasn't because I didn't love you. I just want to put that out there. It wasn't because I did not love you. It's because of the situation that I was in. Okay, right. Situation that me and your mom was in. That was the regret. If I could go back and change a few things and have certain things in play, I would. Like I said, yeah, it was regret, but it wasn't regret because I didn't love you. Once we knew your mom was pregnant, I was like happy, but at the back of my mind, I was like, wow, I got to do whatever I can to make sure my family eats. So it was, for me, I was in survivor mode, you know what I mean? Because you all had to eat, you know what I mean? So it was a struggle. It was a spiritual battle because you're praying to God one way, but you're doing something else different. Like, you're not supposed to do this, but God, my kids got to eat, and thankfully, I wasn't sick children. So I didn't always have to go to the hospital because we didn't have insurance.
Mm.
So yeah, it was regret, but it was never the fact that you was born. It was, but you just came early. We was like, damn, I thought we had more time. You premature, and I was like, oh, that was the funniest thing ever. But yeah, Greg, you got a question?
I have like about 3 questions because I wanted to ask about something you'd said about earlier. Then we got to this topic, but I just wanted to say that I know it was different from me growing up and Amaya growing up because, as you said, we have 2 different mothers, and when you and I'm the oldest, so I don't remember anything past I was 5, before 5, but I know when you was living in the 1-bedroom apartment, I remember how tired your face was. Like, what I know now, and me looking back at it to how you was back then, I used to come from work and you was just tired. It was like a movie. Like, you came in from work, you were just tired, you just wanted to relax, and it was just like you came home and it was something else, and it was something else, and it was just a lot. And then that was with 1 bedroom, and then you moved to Delaware, because I know you went into the military. You went to Delaware, and then I was still living with my mother in Brooklyn, and you was gone. So, I feel like I'm getting off the topic, but I know that once you moved to Delaware and you was in the military, for me, looking back at it, I felt actually like looking at it, it feels like abandonment. Because you was with me all the time, and then you left and had a new family, you moved. So
whoa, wow.
So yeah, so thinking about it lately, it was just like, do I have abandonment issues because my father left? And I remember growing up, like, if my cousins and stuff came to the house, and when they had to leave, it was just so like, why everybody leaves? Because it was just like that back in the day. Because you never really had, I never was really around my cousins after you left like that, and it was just you was my connection to everybody. And then once you left, it was just I was solo dolo.
Wow. Okay, let me take that in. Okay, I gotta really take that in. I never knew that, so I really gotta take that in. Okay, so one, thank you for being honest and truthful. I appreciate that. And I apologize to you because me leaving was not because of you. I want to let you know that me leaving was not because of you. And you always had, and I know what the period you're talking about, and for the listeners, what my son is talking about is that I made a choice to go into the military, to the Air Force Reserve. So my kids and myself and my then wife can have a foundation. I was trying to build, because we was very unstable. Like I said, you didn't have medical coverage. We didn't want to get on welfare. It was just a lot going on. And me and Young Moms wasn't together, and we were going through a rocky situation because I'm with my new wife. And then, it was you at first. And this is going to take me a while. This is going to take me a while because, like I said, this is the first time you ever expressed this to me. And so, and I'm happy you did. I'm happy that the listeners are able to hear it. No, but the reason, it's hard to explain because it's your feelings, you know what I'm saying? And I cannot take away how you felt, but my leaving was not for anything but to try to make a better life for all of us, Yeah. I didn't want to leave, but it's a choice that I had to make sure that the person you are now is the person I'm real proud of, because you've never been to jail. You never went without, so I had to sacrifice, and you had to sacrifice some time apart. We had to sacrifice time apart from each other so you can have the life that you are living now. You understand? And I hope that makes sense to you. If I had to do it all over again, I guess I wish I could have done things better, but I only did what I knew how to do. And that was the only thing that was available to me. So, I do apologize. And I hope that we can revisit this question privately.
Yeah, it's not like I dwell on it now, because it was so long ago. Like, what, you went into military like when I was like 8, 9, probably. I don't remember when you went in, but I feel like if it was, for me, it was like, I used to see you every weekend, and I used to do holidays. Like, for Thanksgiving, I would start Thanksgiving at my mother's house. Say it again?
I said the holidays and weekends.
Yeah, the holidays and weekends. Like Thanksgiving, I'll start at my mother's house because they always had me go to the store. So I'll start at my mother's house, then I would go to your house, and then I spend Thanksgiving with everybody, and the whole family would come over. And it was just like certain habits just stopped. So from seeing you every weekend, calling you, oh daddy, oh can I come see you, or like if I didn't want to be in the house, I call you and you'll just come get me, to you just disappearing. Because at a point in time when you went into the military, I didn't know you left to the military. Like, it was just gone. And then
hold on. So you was lying to me when I was telling you, hey, daddy gotta go away for a little bit. You going into the military?
I honestly don't remember that conversation. But if we did have that conversation,
now you don't remember. Okay.
I don't remember. But if we did have that conversation, it probably just went over my head, like me thinking, like me being young, I ain't know nothing about the military. It was just like, all right, daddy has to go away for a little bit, cool, copy, and then let it be. But what I'm saying is, me being me now and me understanding like what you had to do, like I don't really dwell on it. It just brings into light portions of how I think. Like you being in the military now would have never gave me the opportunity to be like, if you never went to the military and you was never here, I would have never went to the military. I feel like I would have never seen that as a choice to go into the military. Like I would have probably did God knows what. I could have been a drug dealer for all we know. And that's a different dimension reality, to be honest. But so that's something like everything you did set a pathway for not only me but a lot of our cousins, and I know for Maya, like who you were then made you who you are now, and who you are now, who you were then and now made us see that we can get from having nothing to having something. And for me, like you said, we never went without. I always had clothes. I always had sneakers. You always made sure I had shoes, even though if you just got me shoes and whatever reason my feet grew, you got me shoes. You said, don't let my feet pass 7. My feet been 7 for 25 years. I'm getting my shoes.
It gets a whole new different price range when you pass kid sizes. It was like, no.
Exactly. To this day, I don't go past 7. Like I'm not touching that. But yeah, like.
What was your other questions?
I was gonna ask like how like being back in that time, being selling drugs and stuff. It was like you see it on TV, but you really don't know that really like perspective of life, because you see it on TV and yeah, they portray it as a certain way, but like TV is TV and real life is real life.
Let me just touch on that real quick. For me, selling drugs, it was pretty much kind of, I don't want to like it because you should not be selling drugs. But for me, it was easy because I had an innocent look. You know, people didn't look at me as the typical person that would be selling drugs. I was the nerd. You know, I had a certain look. So I was able to get away with certain things that other people would not get away with. It's like systematic colorism, systematic racism is like, it's real. You know, being that I was light skinned, Black male, I used to get away with a lot of things. And for my community in Brownsville, you know, people knew that. You know, it was like, I just got away with it. You know, so I was always a runner, you know, and I became good at it. So it was like, I would always be the person that delivered or pick up, because I would never get caught, because they would never stop. And because I knew the law. So like, I never went to jail for drugs. Amaya, you quiet? What's up?
Just having this conversation, it's like a lot of thoughts just forming in my mind, you know?
Yeah, it seems like we're going to have to do a part 2, because y'all asking some really good questions, and I'm very proud of you. I just want to like take my hat off to y'all and tell y'all both that I'm very proud of you for stepping up and asking those questions. But I don't want to forget about you, Amaya, which I would never forget. But go ahead. You have a question? Because
what Curtis said about abandonment issues, I never knew that either. To a certain extent, I knew like how he was growing up. It affected him in a different way than it affected me, because he was around and I wasn't. So like knowing that he felt that way, that's kind of was shocking to me. Get into a more serious topic though. I know you've told us about before you had thoughts of ending your life, you know? And one question would be, when did that start? Or like, what age would that start? Because it's kind of like, if it was it before you had us, or was it like when we're like young age?
Wow. Talk about asking the hard questions. Okay. So I would put it like this. In 2005 was the last time I tried to end my life. There was a lot of things going on in my past, you know, from growing up from a child to just not being there. And the worst thing that could ever happen to me was my kids to be taken away from me. And at this time, what people don't understand is like, when you don't deal with your past, it starts to haunt you. It starts to build, because sometimes we just hold things in, and that's not good. So I was holding a lot of trauma and injuries that happened to me in my past, and it started affecting the relationships with both of your mothers. You understand? It became very mentally and physically and verbally abusive, you know? So, and that's because that's the type of environment I grew up in. And your mothers didn't know that environment. And that right there could be another whole topic of that type of trauma and that type of abuse and that type of injury to oneself. And for me, may my dad rest in peace. I never wanted to be like him. And I found myself going down a path that I didn't like. And it wasn't until I turned 19 that me and my father was able to heal, because I had no relationship with my father, even though he lived with me in the household. I always felt my mom was a single parent because I never had my dad in the way I wanted him. And like you were saying, Curtis, when you look back and you start getting insight on things that what had to do and had to sacrifice, as I got older, I started looking at my dad like, wow, this is, I understand him a lot better. So that's how we was able to get close. But going back to your question, Amaya, it was hard. I had got to a point where I got real depressed. Nothing in my life felt like it was going to work out. I got to a point where I felt that your life, all your siblings' life would be better without me. So It had nothing to do with you, because when you go into this state of depression, you're going so deep in depression that you're starting to tell yourself that my kids is better off without me, that I'm going to hurt their life more than I will enhance their life. And when you're that low with depression, it is so hard to come back. And I felt like, well, maybe they could get the insurance money or whatever, because this is how I was thinking. And I'm already in the military. It's like, I'm already in the military. I'm doing all this. And to the outside, it looks like I'm doing good. But deep down, my past is starting to catch up to me. So it was a very difficult transition to be honest. However, I see we're running out of time, so we're going to have to do a part 2 of this podcast. So this way we could really tap into why I tried to commit suicide. And what was that? Because I want to give it the full attention that you asked. And we only got 5 more minutes.
Well, I want to say something.
That more time?
I want to say something real quick. Because you said that you thought your life would be better if you wasn't here, or we would be off better. And me and Curtis was actually talking about this and seeing where we would be if you was not here. Like Curtis said.
Hold that one. Hold that thought, because let's give that the full attention, because this is a lot for me right now. And I think I'm kind of like deflecting, or I don't know if this word, if that's the right word, but I do want to give it the right amount of energy. And I don't want what you're about to say to be ignored or dismissed. You understand? But I do want to give it the full attention. Is that okay with you? You sure? Well, we can't. Is that a yes or no?
Yes.
You seem disappointed.
I mean, because it's something I really wanted to know, but it's okay. Yeah. It wasn't something that needed to be a deep discussion, but yeah.
So your question was, let's see if I can do this. Your question was, what was your question?
It wasn't a question. It was more like a reflection of that question, I guess. Like, if he was not here, like what terms we came to if he wasn't here.
Got it.
Because like Curtis said, he said he would be a drug dealer. And for me,
it's a possibility. I don't know.
And for me, being like the situation I've been like growing up, like not living in New York and all that stuff, I came to realize, like, how when we have our conversations, you say you're that glue to the family, like holding everybody together, and you're that person to reach out and let family come together. I realized, like, if you were gone, me and Curtis would not be as close as we are now. We would never have gotten to this point. And I realized if that was the case at 5 years old, there would be no point in me going to New York. That's what I realized. So that's all.
And that's the whole beauty of Found Purpose, is because although that in 2005, that was my last attempt, and I promised God that I would never, ever do that again. Because one, I didn't even know where I was going. I didn't know if I was going to go to hell. And I didn't know if I was going to like it or not. So, and then my life was like, no. But to be honest, and for me, I want to give you the reason. So I will revisit this question, and I have it marked down because it's some people that I need to apologize to, that they didn't know what was going on and what was going on with me. So there's some people that I need to apologize to, but just know this. It was during a time when I turned 30 and I was sent to South Dakota. I was deployed to South Dakota, and that was the best birthday of my life. And I was by myself, and it had 6 feet snow. It has a snowstorm in South Dakota, and I was by myself, and it was one of the best birthdays I ever had. And I started reflecting, and I started getting more in touch with my spiritual self and my true self, and it's just started being grateful because things just started coming back, because I started entrusting my higher power. I started trusting God more, so I thank God that I'm still here, because if it wasn't for certain circumstances in my life, I wouldn't be here to witness to other people that there is, once you get past all the depression, once you get past all the hurt and the pain, you can come out of this. You can find your light again. You can survive. There's nothing in this world that could ever hurt you. And that's why I always told your sisters and your brothers, like, to always go for what you want. Never be scared, because I lived that life in fear. So I never want you to live your life in fear, because fear is just a mental state of mind. And you could do anything you want if you put yourself in position. And that's what I always want y'all to remember, like, put yourself in position and find that light and come to me at anything. Like, use me and your moms for anything you got, because you only got one mom, you only got one dad. And I want you to use me for whatever you need to. If you got to stay home to get your money together, to stack up, so be it. I'd rather for you to be home than out there doing something you're not supposed to do. You get what I'm saying? So always come to me. It's like, if you need a place to, like, say, yo, I got to save up, come home. You can always come home, because once we gone, like you said, I'm super excited that I never tried to end my life again. Cause y'all have been some fucked up kids, and y'all, oh yeah, I'd have had to come back down, cause raising kids is a lot. But it's the best thing ever. Once you start having kids and you see the little things, that's what brings joy. And I can honestly say, me trying to end my life was not about you. I thought it would be better for you, but I was wrong. And that's why I want to touch back on the question, because I got questions I want to ask you, so this is going to be a back and forth. So thank you everyone for tuning in to Found Purpose. Once again, I'm your host, Cortland Fields. We'll be back with this topic, and they're probably going to have more questions. Some of them I didn't know, about abandonment and stuff like that. So yeah, I really want to touch more on that with my children and find out how they felt, because if you don't ask the questions, you will never know as a parent. And sometimes you got to set the stage and a platform for your kids to ask you that question, those hard, tough questions, because that's the only way they could be able to get through life. And if they see that you did it, they can do it, because you're their first role model. You're the first person they look up to. So I'm happy that I changed my life around, and I hope we get to hear more from my children. And thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back.